Everybody, we are here in the TOFT room for the second video of the Happy Birthday series for the unit here. Notice that I've already gone into Pro Tools and gone to the setup menu and checked the playback engine, the I/O, and already created my track that I'm recording today. And I've already set the outputs and inputs for all of my tracks according to what the input sheet is telling me to do. So we always fill out an input sheet first to kind of set up for the session, and the input sheet will tell you what Pro Tools input and output each instrument should be assigned, as well as where it's going to go in the monitor path. So let's see what we got here and talk a little bit about the monitor path. When I hit play, we know that the Pro Tools outputs, we're using Pro Tools outputs 1 through 21 today. Pro Tools outputs are on this bottom row here, right across here, and they feed directly into the monitor inputs. So we're going to be using the monitor section of the console for this exercise. When I hit play, sound is going to the monitor input, so we know that right after the monitor input comes monitor fader to monitor pan. From the monitor pan, we route now to the stereo bus. In the TOFT, we understand that the monitor section goes directly to the stereo bus. From the stereo bus, it comes over to the master fader. Master fader, when I bring that up to unity gain, I can see that I've got signal, and I can go ahead and bring up the control room monitor volume for my sound. Okay. Next, once I can verify that I've got sound, I'm going to want to go ahead and make a little bit of a monitor mix for myself here in the control room. I'm going to go ahead and start by setting the monitor faders and adjust them to where I can hear all the pieces of the music, and also I'm going to make sure that I've got the monitor fader up for the track that I'm going to record today. I can set that once I start recording. Once I start doing that mix, I'm also going to want to make sure that I move the equalizer down to the monitor path by the EQ to Mon button, and make sure that I set my low-cut filters on instruments that need low-cut filters. And I would suggest that you use the low-cut filters on everything except the kick and the bass. Leave those alone, but we're going to use the filters on everything else. That'll get out some of the low-end rumble out of the tracks. Once I've done that, I might need to go back and do some readjusting on the faders to make my mix sound just right. And then I will start adding my panning. For the panning, I can, things that I want to be in the mix up the center, I'll leave it center. Things that I want panned out, like these two overheads here, you'll notice I have them panned out hard left and right. And then other instruments I have panned to various positions in the spectrum here. And that'll be up to you to decide as you listen to your mix and set it up to your liking. Once we've got our mix happening, the next thing I need to concern myself with is the Q mix, and that too is in the monitor path. For the Q mix, we are using aux 5 and 6. Aux 5 and 6 is what are the Q sends that go to our Avium unit here. It actually goes to Avium unit channels 15 and 16. And you can see in our patch bay that aux sends 5 and 6 go directly into the Avium unit, and that's what we want. So, a couple things to pay attention to. In order to make aux 5 and 6 work in the monitor path, I have to push the green button on every channel that I'm using for monitor path and move the auxes to Mon. So aux 5, 6 to Mon is needed in order to make sure that your aux sends are working in the monitor path instead of the large fader path. Another thing I need to pay attention to is that I want to make sure that all my aux sends that are Qs, I want them to be pre-fader. In order to make them pre-fader, I have to engage the pre button next to the aux sends. So I'm going to do that on all the channels that I am going to send out to my headphones. Now, to start making the aux send mix, I've got to find a way to listen to it. Now, there's a couple different ways. We can take an Avium unit and plug it in to the Avium A16D by plugging them into here. And I can put an Avium mixer in the room with me with a set of headphones and listen to the mix as I create it. Another way of doing that is to be able to solo the aux masters. Now, going up here to the top, we see that we have 5 aux masters. We're using aux 5 and 6, so I've turned them up. But you'll notice that there's no solos for the aux master, so I can't solo it. A third way that I could listen to it is I could actually patch from aux 5 and 6 to my 2-track return. That way when I engage the 2-track button, I would actually be listening to the Q mix in my speakers. And that's the way we're going to work in here today. Don't worry that we have put a patch from aux 5 and 6 to 2-track, because this is a half normal patch. Signal will still travel down to the Avium unit for the talent out in the room. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play on my session, and let's go ahead and start dialing in a mix. So in order to hear it, go up to 2-track and turn up the control room volume. As you can hear, we've got some stuff going. Something to pay attention to in this room, your Q mix on the signal flow diagram in the test that you take every day, it always tells you to go Q send to Q pan. On this console, we don't have a Q pan. Instead, we have to make our panning based on volume faders. If I want something to sound like it's in the middle, in the center, I've got to send both 5 and 6 to the same amount. If I want something to appear in the left ear only, like our overheads here, let's look at this. Notice on the left side of my overhead on channel 4 here, I've only turned up aux 5, not aux 6. So this will only go to the left ear. On our next channel, I've only turned up aux 6, not aux 5. So now it can only go to, this channel will only go to our right ear. On things that I want to make a little bit different, or not quite hard left or hard right, I can start with both of them at the same position, and then as I start adding a little bit more volume to one side, the sound will actually start moving in your headphones to one side or the other. So if I want it to go more to the right, I'll add more aux 6 than aux 5. If I want it to go more left, I'll add more aux 5 instead of aux 6. So you'll be able to hear that as you have your headphones on or as you're listening to the Q mix as you create it. As you're creating the Q mix, listen to it to make sure that you can hear everything, and you should be good to go to do the next step, which is go out in the studio and set up the microphones and get your input path ready. And that'll be it. We'll see you in the next episode.